say that, wouldn't I?
Considering we're at Eastern Creek, we got to hit some chicanes, don't we?
Yes, mate.
Oh no, we just heard a... Oh no, that was old mate in the S15. I thought I had something falling off my car. Alright, we are fresh back from roll racing. The BMW went sick. I hope you enjoyed that footage because I had so much fun. I'm going to do it again and again and again, and hopefully make it fast though. Potentially a single turbo, but not just yet, because there's other nuggets that need some love, like the RVR. So down here we have the gearbox torn apart. This is my fault. I broke the transfer case, and it was just a bearing, which I replaced, put it back in. But before I put the transfer back in, I managed to drive it in front wheel drive, which hurt the center diff. So don't drive your all-wheel drive cars in front-wheel drive. Well, Evo 3 anyway. So the center diff is here. It didn't hurt it too badly, but a couple of shims broke. We're chasing those up. So fingers crossed, I can just find those. Otherwise, we'll replace the center diff. I did look at a Quaith and a few stronger versions, but lead time, waiting for it, you know, money to outlay while there's other nuggets that need some love. We're hoping just to go standard or throw the shims back in. So we'll see about that over the next, hopefully the next few hours, because I have two companies getting back to me, and then we'll know for sure. But whilst we are waiting for those companies to get back to me, we have a new hot side for the RVR. So let's have a quick look at what's on there now. It's pretty shit. And then we'll have a look at what's going on. Let's go. All right, so here we have standard manifold with a TD05H, which comes standard on the RVR HSG. It does have a Turbo Smart actuator, which is kind of cool. So it ran, I think, 15, 16 pound on that actuator, which was fun, which helped make more boost. But look at this intercooler pipe. It's so bad. So it's got this epic horseshoe, and then it runs down and then runs under the radiator, and it's just ghetto fabulous. So what we are going to do is rip all this off. So we're going to make a new dump pipe. We have a new manifold, new turbo. So we actually have a second transfer case, because I bought another one thinking the noise was coming from the transfer that I rebuilt. But good news, we have two transfer cases. Money. Scored that pretty cheap from a fella in Queensland. I was pretty happy with that. We do have this sick, what brand is that? Cinch? Not sure. Anyway, Evo guys probably heard of it. Found this on Facebook Marketplace. It was pretty cheap. It was $700. Hasn't been on a car. Looks like it's going to flow mad exhaust gas. It's got a 40 mil wastegate dump, which we have a Turbo Smart number for. This is the only thing we have to change, because it's got a factory turbo flange on it. And this Aeroflow Turbo has the, let me set this up, has the V-band connection. So here we have here our new V-band, which we're going to weld straight on that flange. Because if Lucas Fab was closer, you get to meet him soon. We've got a race car to build, probably 3 to 6 months on the race car build, but I would ask him to cut this flange off, weld it nicely. He would take his time a bit and it would be schmeck. The RVR is no show car. We don't need it to be the prettiest thing as far as this manifold goes. I can change it later if I want to, but essentially we have to cut 8 mil plate through 8 mil plate to cut it off nicely, neatly, potentially damaging the wastegate pipe. So instead of doing that, in true tris form, I'm just going to weld this number straight to the flange, like this. Boom, just like that. So yes, that flange will still be there. It'll be 8 mil lower than what it would sit without it. But honestly, I don't care. And what I'm going to do is, because I have to check clearance on the engine, so I'm going to just tack this on, and then we'll bolt the manifold to the engine and throw the turbo on and just see where we are sitting. Fingers crossed we have room, otherwise we may actually have to modify how this V-band sits. Enough talking junk. Let's rip the old turbo off, slap this new manifold on, get the turbo sitting where we like it, and keep going. And hopefully we hear about this gearbox part, because I want to get that thing back in real quick. Let's see if I can do this one hand. Out with the old, in with the new. No, I can't. That looks much better. Very close to the cam cover, but that's all good. We don't care about that so much. All right, let's try and slide this, throw a couple bolts in, sit the turbo in there and see how it looks. That wastegate is gonna hit all of that dipstick. Let's see how that goes. All right, first glance, we have to clock the turbo a tiny bit because this side is hitting water pipe and engine. So this came off a Evo 4, I believe, Evo 4. And it was situated the other way around. So exhaust was designed to go out driver's side, and now I need the exhaust to go out passenger side. So we'll try and clock this around a few degrees, throw it back in. Coconut water, best stuff in the world. All right, let's clock the turbo. All right, we have a slight issue. I clocked the turbo a tiny bit, hoping that we would clear a water line and what else? Water line, basically engine, radiator, all the stuff that's potentially in the way, but we did hit a water line. So there's a few ways to go about it. We can either a few ways to go about it. We can either have the V-band sit a little away from the motor, which will push the turbo out a tiny bit, which is fine, or I can actually potentially move one of the water lines, which needs to be replaced anyway. So I want to change it to a braided line, which runs from the block down to the oil cooler where the oil filter sits. So I'll show you that, and we'll look at the best options here. Look at our options and go from there. Okay, so this water line here, that banjo bolt, runs to a hard line. It runs under this water pipe down to over yonder, and it's pretty sketchy. I actually did I did an average repair on it. I basically welded it the best I could and then sleeved it with a hose, with some hose clamps, because it was in bad shape. It was paper thin where it had been rubbing on the block. So I wanted to change this whole line to braided anyway. So instead of having a banjo bolt shooting off that way, potentially going to run a piece of braided hose from this banjo bolt down and below the turbo to this pipe. So let's rip the hose out, throw the turbo back in, see what the clearance is. Potentially we can leave that V-band flat. I think that'd be nicer instead of trying to cock it a little bit just so to have more clearance. But regardless, it's gonna work. We're gonna make boost. So let's rip this hose out. Have a look. All right, let's run a quick comparison on these turbos. Quite an upgrade. Let's see. So here we have TD05H20G. I actually thought this one was a Marmatech, but it's not. I believe it's standard because it doesn't have the GDX blades, which the Marmatech one does. So just a standard one. We had this thing singing at about 32 pound, I think this one saw. Still pretty good. Slight chip on one of the blades, but nothing crazy. Probably for when it sucked up water. It does have the Turbo Smart actuator. So here we go, look at this number. So there we go, front wheel, much larger. Actually, let's do a quick measure because I don't know the specs on this turbo. One sec. All right, so the front wheel might not actually be that much larger, but the housing is much larger. Let's have a look. So it's 55 mil in that. Oh, maybe it's 57. 55, 57. I'm gonna go 55 on the front and 57-ish. Yeah, I'm gonna go 57. So not much difference in wheel, but obviously we have more blades in the airflow. It's got the T51R whistle boy. Let's have a look at the exhaust wheel, see how much smaller and larger. Whoa, that thing's tiny. All right, so that thing is a tiny little wheel. Look at that exhaust leak. Probably because I didn't tighten some bolts. All right, so that's tiny. That was a little baby too. So without taking the housing off, we're looking at a 52 mil wheel. What do we got there? So 50 mil on this. So wheels are actually the same size. So there you go. But this turbo is much better. Dual ball bearing versus journal bearing. And look at the size of the rear housing. Tiny, much larger. And then we have, oh, here we go, AR72. So we have a AR72 on the rear. And then we got a big old front housing to flow all that boost. Little baby one, much bigger. So I think this thing made 350 kilowatts at 36 pounds on an Evo, a friend of mine's. This one would make about 240 kilowatt at 36 pound and it'd be blowing its ass out. Probably 30 pound would do 240 kilowatt. Anything higher than that, it'd blow it to pieces. 25 is the number you want to be on for daily driving. Max, this thing, 30 plus. 30, 35, I think we'll be comfortable. So we'll probably tune it around the 30 pound mark, see how it likes it, and then I'll be daily driving it, so I'm not gonna send it to the moon straight away. Maybe if we go to roll racing, I might turn it up a little bit, but I'll take it down on a trailer just to be sure, just to be safe. But fire me up. The minivan is going to be so much fun with this new setup, so let's go rip it. If you're watching this, it means I'm ripping it. So you can either skip to the end of the video or watch me talk some more nonsense while I put this turbo on. So let's get after it. Fire me up, Aeroflow Turbo Smart Wastegate, Cinco exhaust manifold, Haltech, all the goodness. Should be reliable and fun. Let's go and see. So new turbo is on, we have lines ran. We need to do a pipe from the wastegate shooting straight down. We can do that later, that's no biggie. But this will make all the right sounds and it's gonna make so much more power. With this little number on here, give it a little spin. Oh, there it is.